Hey everyone, it's 10 Types, and Abyss Eye is about to be released in Japan. Abyss Eye is going to be the Japanese expansion that's going to be the same as the international expansion, Pitch Black. When I say the same, like I think there's a couple of cards that are going to be different, but essentially the same set there. And as I said, it's going to be released in Japan very soon, and then it will be released internationally later. I will quickly mention the card we talked about today. Theoretically, the translation of some of the like the attack name, the ability name matters some for why this card is weird, but well, you'll see here. But anyways, that card it's a really interesting card. Abyssite is a really interesting set as well. So honestly, the set is so sick. I'm so excited for it. Especially compared to some of the other sets. I don't want to bash too much on Chaos Rising because I make YouTube videos. And I want people to watch videos that I'm going to make, and I want you to watch them, and I want you to subscribe and like. And I'm obviously going to make videos on Chaos Rising, but the set isn't super good. But Abyssite is honestly, there's so much cool stuff here in this set. I don't know how good it's going to be, but it is, I'd say, definitely cooler than sets like Perfect Order, Chaos Rising, and also Phantasmal Flames. I always just like forget the set name is, or I don't always, but it's just a pretty forgettable set there. But anyways, that card that we're talking about today isn't actually that interesting. I'm not going to lie. It's very strange. In terms of what it does, though, it's a pretty normal card here. And it's this Toucannon. Toucannon is, I'd say, a pretty generic Pokemon as well, maybe. I don't know. If you're a big Toucannon fan, tell me in the comment section. But I feel like it's a cool enough, but somewhat generic bird. But it has this ability here, Sky Draw. Once your turn, you may draw a card. This ability is super generic, right? We see this ability, or similar abilities, pretty commonly. This is, this is stage 2 here, right? So this is, it's not a very good ability. I'm not really going to talk about how good this card is. I mean, it's not very good, but certainly this is not a competitive analysis or even like playing analysis really of this card here. And then you have this attack here, Feather Rondo for 1 color. So it does 60, 20 more for each bench fill when both yours and your opponents. Theoretically, with a full bench of 5 for both players, you're going to be swinging for 260 here, which is, I mean, I suppose for one on stage 2, that's pretty good here. And then also, if you have Air Zero Underdepths, theoretically, you could each have a bench of 8 there. You could be swinging for, I believe, 340 there. Sorry, 380 there. So that's pretty good, but that's like dream scenario, and your opponent needs to play into it and stuff like that. Obviously not super strong. I'd be surprised if this card sees play, but you never know, I suppose. But anyways, this card probably looks pretty normal at first. I haven't made the thumbnail or the title of the video yet, so I don't know exactly if I've spoiled all the reason why this card is so weird here. But this card is very strange because of the attack, the ability here, in how they relate to some other Pokemon. And importantly, this attack here is translated as Feather Rondo. And we've seen some other attacks like this in the Pokemon TCG. So looking at the Pokemon TCG, we have a handful of Pokemon that have Rondo. Adorine and Mawile have it as their abilities. It's completely unrelated. They're actually, what's this do? Yeah, they're related to like switching and stuff. They got Meloetta here, which is also completely unrelated. Then you have Raikou V, Suicune V, and Entei V, and yeah, those 3 are a trio, right? Also, I will mention Erica's Victory Bell has some similarities, kind of. I don't think it's related to it. Also, the Gourgeist EX coming out in Chaos Rising, I believe, has a Rondo in its attack name. At least in the translation, it does. The card is like out. We know what the attack name is, but theoretically, we do. I actually don't off the top of my head, but if that has Rondo in its name, it's somewhat similar, but it's not the same thing here. But you look at Entei V, Suicune V, and Raikou V. I'm just going to open up one of these. They're all pretty much the same. They have the same ability name called Fleet-Footed. Once your turn fits in the active, you can draw a card. And then you also have the attack here, something Rondo. We got Lightning Rondo. I believe it's Blizzard Rondo here. Yeah, then Burning Rondo. And this is 20 damage and 20 more for each bench Pokemon. So these Rondo attacks are going to be doing 40 less damage than Feather Rondo, but they scale the same way. So, or they're 20 more for each bench Pokemon. So obviously very similar. Also, they're all 1 colorless and 1 of their type here. You also look at Lillie's Clefairy EX, and this also is part of the quote Legendary Beast trio, Raikou, Suicune, and Entei V. But Lillie's Clefairy EX obviously isn't part of that trio. Lil's Clefairy EX might be weirder than Toucannon. I'm not sure. I think, multiple videos talking about how weird this card is. It's weird because it kind of fits into the trio, which again, obviously then has 4 and now potentially 5 Pokemon in it. But Lillie's Clefairy EX has Full Moon Rondo, which is the same damage as Raikou V, NT V, and Suicune V. Again, 40 less than Toucannon here. Toucannon's doing some more. It also is cheaper, but it's on stage 2 there. And so it's a stage 2. Very, very different there. Lillie's Clefairy EX is also weird, being an EX of a not fully evolved Pokemon. We see a few of them, but this is one. But it's not crazy. I mean, it's paired with Lillie. What are you really expecting there? That, makes sense. And then it's also weird because it kind of references the fairy type, its ability, giving weakness to Pokemon without a weakness, but it's not like super weird. It's also, I don't know if weird's the right word, but the other Lillie's Pokemon are like super terrible. So it's like there are Lillie's Pokemon, but this is the only one that really like sees any play. The tool that supports it sees a little bit of play. Lillie's Rabombi actually sees some play as well. In Control, I haven't played. Okay, yeah. I mean, trust me, it sees a little bit of play. Not a lot of play, but just a tiny bit. But anyways, Lillie's Clefairy EX, weird card here that fits into the trio. Also, weird thing about the trio, we see Raikou V here in Brilliant Stars. We see Suicune V here in Evolving Skies. And we see NTV here, again, also in Brilliant Stars. NTV and Raikou V have the F regulation mark. Suicune V has the E regulation mark. So they didn't even come out in the same year. Evolving Skies was the third set of the year, and then Brilliant Stars was the first set of the next year, first main set there, I believe. I know Brilliant Stars was the first set. Yeah, Evolving Skies was, okay, that was the third set. So they were in different sets there. The trio was split up, which was it was just kind of weird. And again, they rotated at different times. Also, all three were pretty good. NTV, I believe, was the weakest of them. Yeah, saw playing Charizard, though. I mean, it wasn't a bad card. Suicune V was quite good as its own deck. Looking here, we don't see as many results, but I believe this was over when there were predominantly online tournaments and less in-person tournaments there. Then Raikou V saw play, I believe, predominantly it was in Miraidon, and then it was also it was in Lugia, and then in Lost Zone a lot as well. But yeah, Miraidon as well. Some different decks here. So a lot of play. It wasn't as important as like Suicune V was to its own deck. Anyways, it was pretty good. Lillie's Clefairy X also very good. Toucannon definitely probably not as good because Lillie's Clefairy X obviously sees play for weakness hitting, and most of them do as well. Obviously, Toucannon probably not doing too good on the weakness hit in front there. And then it's a stage 2, right? It's a stage 2 that's kind of bad. So Toucannon, I mean, it's being a stage 2 is so weird here as well. Obviously, the other ones are all basics here, so it doesn't fit in that regard. Lillie's Clefairy EX has a very different ability than the Legendary Beast, though, where they, have abilities that draw a card once per turn, which is the same ability as Toucannon. Except Toucannon, it doesn't need to be in the active. Again, though, it is a stage 2, so it makes sense it's a little stronger. If this Pokemon had, just an attack that was more damage for bench Pokemon. I mean, you look at, actually, this attack is the same attack as Palkia V-Star, Origin Form Palkia V-Star. Literally the same thing, same damage. And Origin Form Palkia V-Star is actually, pretty similar to Suicune V in terms of, obviously, they, as a saying, Toucannon and Suicune V and stuff, they have similar attacks. So obviously, Origin Form Palkia V-Star is also pretty similar there. They're both Pokemon V. They both attack for 2 energy. They're water Pokemon. And want big benches and things like that. So they definitely have similarities there, but they're just similar attacks. I wouldn't say they're part of like the same literal intended grouping. But with Toucannon, the attack name something Rondo. Actually, I pull up this card in Japanese. I'll pull up this deck in Japanese or this Pokemon. The attack name looks pretty different there. Looking at the the Raikou V here, we see, is it similar? I don't know how similar it is. I'm not gonna lie. Obviously, I can't read Japanese. I only used it for the one video, which, by the way, I did a video where I did every card started with a different letter, and that did use Japanese cards in it because it's not possible without it. But anyways, Toucannon and Raikou V appear to have similar attack names. Someone, if you know a little bit better than I do, if these are 2 cards that share similar attack names, that'd be useful to know, because it does look like it, but obviously I don't really know what I'm talking about with that. But the fact that they share similar attack names definitely makes me think that it is kind of like a reference or a callback. But the fact that they have similar abilities makes me feel like it's like very intentional. Also, I suppose from like lore reasons in Pokemon or like things like that. If anyone has any reason as to why the Legendary Beast would go with either Lillie's Clefairy EX or with this Toucannon, I'd love to hear it. It definitely is weird, but I mean, this card seems, I don't know if I'd say it's closer than Lillie's Clefairy EX, but Lillie's Clefairy EX felt more like a weird random callback. Toucannon feels even even more of a direct reference, not just like a similar attack. You see similar attacks in Pokemon all the time with like generic stuff like call for family or collect, but this is a bit more specific, but could just be a random reference, but then with but it's a different ability name completely there. I guess I'll look in the Japanese one to see if they look similar. They don't. I've said, I can't speak. As I said, I don't know what I'm looking for there though, but it's so strange. Also, what's strange is obviously they're different time periods, right? So this is in set M5, this set of the Mega Evolution era. The first one was Mega Evolution. The second set was Battles with Flames, and you have Perfect Order, Chaos Rising, and then again this is in Abyss Eye / Pitch Black here. We'll be in Pitch Black. And then you look at Lil's Clefairy EX. That was in Lil's Clefairy EX was in Journey Together. Let me quickly check something. Clefairy EX was also in Ascended Heroes, which was a Mega Era set, so it kind of appeared in the Mega Era, but like not really, right? Obviously, what's happened with the Mega Era is a little weird with it being, being a set that is, or like a block, I guess is the term. I don't know if block's the right word, maybe era, that is, starting specifically between Scarlet and Violet and the Mega Era. Scarlet and Violet was 2.5 years as opposed to 3 years. Sword and Shield, X, Y, Black, White, Sun, Moon, I believe those were all exactly 3 years there. But you're looking at 2.5 for Scarlet and Violet, and then you're looking at I don't know how long Mega Era is going to be, but it started in the middle of a year, which makes some weird stuff with rotation being at the quote beginning of the year. Ascended Heroes is also weird. Ascended Heroes is a set that was made up of two different things. The stuff in Japan though came out the previous year, at the end of the previous year. So when I talk about years, I generally say I would generally say Perfect Order is the first set of the year, even though Heroes technically is because I count Ascended Heroes as last year's set. But anyways, long story short, these are close-ish together, but they aren't really the same era. The Lil's Clefairy EX and the Toucannon from the Mega Era set. And then you look at the other legendary, the legendary beasts there, and those cards are generally the same era, but not the same set. Two of them were the same set, NTV and Raikou V. I don't know why Suicune V came out first. It was in Evolving Skies in Japan, or the equivalent there. Raikou V was in V-Star Universe, and so was NTV. Yeah, so they didn't like change sets. Sometimes you see cards randomly be like pushed back, or you see kind of weird release stuff from Japan to internationally, making it look really weird internationally. But if you look at the original Japanese sets, it looks perfectly normal. It's not perfectly normal though. Looking at Japanese sets. Then I will also mention, by the way, kind of randomly, Evolving Skies, just like a stacked set. This set's crazy, in my opinion, with so many good VMAX decks. You just randomly have this basic Pokemon V also being kind of nutty. I guess Volcarona V is also kind of good as a basic Pokemon V. That'd be in expanded. Suicune V might be the best Pokemon in this set. Oh, I guess also Medicham V is, or I guess was good and expanded. I've never really seen anyone play it. There's just like one video online of someone playing it, and then someone's like, on my Discord server said they played it locally. Like they played Medicham V locally before it was banned. And I have a question. I don't remember who it was. I'm sorry about that. But where did you play expanded locally? Or do you just play against standard and then beat people? Which, like, I guess would mean that the deck's kind of broken. But like any expanded deck would be broken against some random standard deck, right? But anyway, so you have all these guys is like randomly super crazy, kind of like Twilight Masquerade, which by the way, Twilight Masquerade is also crazy. Tell me if you want me to make a full video on that set. I probably will because it's kind of cracked. But anyways, it's definitely there's just like so much weird stuff that goes into these. If anyone knows why this is the way it is, I'd love to hear it, as I said. But I do think this is very intentional with the Rondo and the draw attack. Like, the draw attack, is it's not like naming wise doesn't appear to be a reference, but functionally it feels like it's a reference. Also, one last thing, this is something I'm actually probably going even more out of my, I guess, quote comfort zone here. But looking at where even is it in Pocket, you have the cards like Suicune EX. I believe Suicune EX is very good. I am not familiar with the metagame. It's not. I don't know. Blaziken play an Entei? No. Okay, I don't follow the metagame very much. Pocket. Um, but yeah, so we have Suicune EX. Oh yeah, Suicune EX in Secluded Springs. There's also Entei EX and a Raikou EX. So Entei EX, Raikou EX, and Suicune EX all have Legendary Pulse, which is if it's in the active at the end of your turn, you draw a card. Obviously, very similar to the abilities on the basic Pokemon Vs, which, I didn't say, basic Pokemon Vs are like the same as basic Pokemon EX as well, if you didn't know that. They're not exactly the same. Functionally, in terms of gameplay mechanics, they're pretty much the same, though. So Toucannon EX here is a card that has a similar attack as well, 20 for each bench Pokemon, so it's 20 less damage. But then you look at the Entei EX and the Raikou EX, and they have just completely different attacks that are still both 2 energies, I guess. I mean, Entei EX, you can get 4 energies as well and do more damage. So, anyways, those are like kind of references. Suicune EX is clearly a reference, and obviously Pocket is a game that's really kind of chock full of references, which is what makes it, I think, kind of cool. One of the things that is cool about it. It's definitely weird being in a spot where it's between the regular TCG and like its own thing. How much is it supposed to be its own thing? But anyways, Suicune EX is a reference to that, but that's like a cool reference. Toucannon feels random, so definitely a really interesting card here, though, in my opinion. Obviously not super interesting to play with, I don't think. In terms of damage, the more I'm looking at this, the more I'm like, maybe this card actually could be like the damage is kind of nice. I suppose if your opponent has like 3 bench Pokemon, and then you have your 5, then that's going to be 220. That's like it's not that good, but realistically, this card is just a kind of random card in the set that I haven't heard anyone talk about. I don't think, but definitely really very strange here. But I hope you all enjoyed the video. Of course, leave down below in the comment section any like random thoughts you have on this. This is definitely just such a weird video. That's like I think I need to make a video on this card, and it's very strange as well. Pokemon, if you're watching this video, why is this the way that it is? I hope we find it out at some point. But I hope you all enjoyed. Make sure you like and subscribe. Really helps support the channel. Also, huge shouts to my YouTube members. It really means a lot for you all to be supporting me. But I hope you all enjoyed. And as always, I'm excited to see you in the next video.